Right, I'll pass you over to Stina. You're all on mute. If you need to come off mute or you've got any questions or whatever, or you want to jump in, just fire away, or if you want, pop them in the chat. But yeah, interact, ask some questions, and enjoy. I'll pass you over now. All yours, mate.
See you later.
All right. That's me good to go now, yeah?
Yeah, all good. All good.
All right, cool. Hey everyone, my name's Steve. I was in the Royal Welsh with Jack. I left 2014, left the military now, so it's been a while. I've been out quite a while. Been doing other bits since. So just a quick background, military. My name's Stephen Handley. I'm living in Norway now. I've been living here for 7 years. I have 2 children. I own a gym also. And I'm also a teaching assistant, which I've just started. I think that's pretty much it in terms of credentials. Jack asked me to come on with you guys, or invited me to come on, I should say, which I'm grateful for. And he wanted me to answer a few questions. He sent me over a list of questions, which will help go through the time pretty smoothly, I think. So I went through them a little bit, wrote some brief answers, but I'll expand on them as and when you guys have any questions as well. So I can jump straight in with a little bit of why I think he's probably asked me to come on to speak. So in 2012, I got injured in an IED blast in Afghanistan, and I lost both my legs. And since then, of course, I've been through quite a bit of a rehab process and had to go through a lot of struggles with goal setting and achieving things and not achieving things and having to start back from scratch sometimes. There's a lot of complications that come with something like this injury. A lot of 1 step forwards, 2 step backs can be really frustrating, a really frustrating kind of process to go through. So I know a little bit about going through hard times and trying to achieve things and feeling like they're either a million miles away or nearly impossible. But the good news is since then, I have done quite a fair bit. Of course, I've made a pretty good recovery. I'm on prosthetic legs from morning to night. I'm on them all day, every day. So I'm living a pretty normal life. As I mentioned, I've got a business and I've also got another job, which I do part-time right now with the possibility of extending it later on. So yeah, I'm living a pretty normal life and 2 kids as well with that. So the first question he had was, how do I go about not being where I want to be? So when I feel like I'm not where I want to be, how do I approach that scenario and what do I do about it? So for me, as much as I like to set goals, I try not to think about them too much once I've set them. I then start to think about the process and the system and the journey. So some of my goals currently, I'm very much into my mountain climbing, so it's a lot related to that. And I'll have goals that are a year, 2 years away from where I am now. So trying to focus on them every day can be pretty difficult, and it can seem like it's so far away, and then it's very easy to just let things slip because it's miles away and I don't need to worry about it. So what I tend to do is I have a big goal and then I have lots of mini goals, and I try and create a system. And that system is based on what kind of person and what kind of shape and health and fitness will I need to be to achieve those goals. And those things I work on every day, every week. And I often take one bit at a time. So if I feel like I'm struggling at something, I'm not very good at something like sleep, for example. Maybe my sleep routine is terrible, which is true. It has been, especially over the Christmas period. I'll zone in on that for a week or so, or a couple of weeks, however long it takes me to just nail that one aspect. And then I'll move on to something else. And it doesn't have to be 100% perfect either. It just needs to be pretty solid, like a good 80%. So what I mean by that now is, I guess, instead of trying to focus on the goal, I'm trying to fall in love and trying to love the journey, trying to get involved with the system that is involved in achieving these goals. So these goals end up just being progress checks, if you like, or checkpoints. So I'll have all these mini goals leading up to a big goal. So next month I'm climbing another mountain, but it's kind of part of training for a mountain that I want to do in about 2 years' time. So it's all just little checkpoints, keeping you accountable and keeping you aware of where you're at. So I have daily things like sleep, maybe water. Again, after the Christmas period, I think I let the water slide. I was probably drinking more alcohol than I was water. So now I'm back on track with trying to make sure I'm getting enough fluids in the day. I'll make sure that's nailed, and then I'll move on to my next thing. Maybe my next thing might be getting enough protein in. I'll just do it step by step, which leads me to the next question, which is how do I get back on plan if I mess these things up? So I think the most important part about that is setting realistic expectancy at the beginning. So I don't expect to be nailing everything from the start. January the 1st, water's good, sleep's good, all that's good. It's a silly expectation. And all you're going to do is you're going to probably fail at some of these, if not all of them. And you're going to feel rubbish and you're going to feel like you fail. And it's going to make you want to quit or make you feel like you're not good enough to do it, or it's, you can't do it. So I think, again, going back to the system, it's about creating a system, putting that in place so you can expect to fail and you can have a plan of what you're going to do about it when you do. So I think having a good realistic expectation of what you're trying to achieve and what you are able to achieve. And then when that doesn't happen, it's not going to hurt as much because you expected it, you have a plan for it, and your plan for it is going to be different for everyone. And it's going to depend on what it is you're messing up. So say for sleep, for example, if I mess up my sleep cycle, I know then it's about getting straight back onto my regular sleeping routine the next day, draw a line under whatever it is I've messed up, get straight back onto the program, don't dwell on it, forget it, it's done, straight back on the plan. So realistic expectations, don't try and do everything at once, try and just be sensible and realize you're a human being, you're not a robot. And a lot of us have real life stuff going on as well, like I said, 2 kids, businesses, jobs, all this stuff. It's a lot of stress, and you have stress, and then you're trying to add stress from exercise, stress from everything else. So just be kind to yourselves, be realistic, and expect to fail, and just get comfortable with that and expect it and have a plan for it. So I think expect to mess up. Yeah. Next question was why we shouldn't go full tilt in the new year. Pretty much just covered that. So again, basic logic. It's a lot easier to use your focus on one thing at a time. If you're somebody that hasn't been very healthy or fit or whatever it might be, or even if you've had a long time off, trying to start, again, I'll use January the 1st as an example because it's very typical this time of year, to come in, have the perfect diet, the perfect training program, the perfect sleep routine. It's a lot of stress. And, professional athletes struggle with keeping this aligned. So for someone that's got a job, it's not their main priority. They've got a job and kids and everything else. You're being really, really hard on yourself, and you're going to really struggle. If you were trying to learn how to juggle, because that's what it is, essentially, it's mentally juggling a lot of things. And I was to just give you 5 balls and say, there you go. It's going to take you a lot longer to learn how to juggle. Whereas if I gave you 2, you started learning the throwing process. Once that got comfortable, adding another ball. Once that gets comfortable, adding another ball. So just trying to hone that focus in and And just, again, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be realistic. Have your expectations at a realistic level. And it's that consistency is going to help you over the long run, instead of trying to go all in, feeling like a failure when things don't go to plan. You know, you're just going to have a miserable time. You're going to struggle, and you're more likely going to want to quit. And I see it all the time. You know, I'm on my second gym now, and I've seen people coming in and going, and I've done personal training as well over the years. And I see it all the time. People go in, they want everything. They want the perfect training, the perfect diet, the perfect life routine. And it's just too much. And they quit. They quit within 3-4 weeks. They're gone. And then they've hurt their confidence so much, it takes them a long time to get back into it. They'll just be, I tried, I failed. And that's them done for a long time.
This just died. Can you just confirm you can hear me again,
Yeah,
Jack?
yeah. All good now, yeah.
All right, cool. Headphones just died. Admin. Here you go. Systems. Bad admin. Right. So, yeah, as I was saying, don't go all in. Be kind to yourself. Take it one step at a time. Take a sensible approach. And then this is where having a trainer like Jack will help. He can set out a sensible program and, you know, help you along the way. And every time you slip up, which you probably will, he should be able to help just get you back on focus and go again. Let's see, how quickly should you add steps? Let me see this. So adding steps for the long-term changes, as I think I mentioned before, I think once you feel like you've nailed a step, so again, this can be something massive, like if you were running a marathon, you're looking at like distance targets. It could be something like that, or it could be, again, just trying to nail your water or your protein or whatever it is. And once you feel like you're consistent with that, so for me, if I have a good week, 2 weeks of water, then I'm pretty comfortable with that. And also how I felt. If I felt like it was easy to do it, and I've nailed it now, it's not something I'm struggling with mentally, I don't have to keep on fighting myself to do it, then I find I'll push in another step. I've been doing this for years as well, so sometimes it takes me less time to get into these things because I've been doing it so long. The water thing can take me a week. I'll have a good week, and that's me back into routine. Same with the sleep, a week, 2 weeks, I'm back in routine, and I'm good to go. But you need to feel like it's comfortable, and you need to feel like you've nailed it, and you don't have to worry about it as much anymore. So you have space in your head and everywhere else to add another thing in. If you feel like you're doing the water, but you're literally clinging on, and it's a real struggle, you're still really struggling to do it, and you're pretty much forcing yourself to do it, maybe don't try and chuck something else in the mix. Or if you do, and you see that the water starts quickly dropping off again, I'm just saying water as an example, then maybe take that thing back out, the thing you added, and go back to the water until, again, it's set and it's nailed. So back on plan. All right, so also the full tilt thing, I think, and the failing thing, I think the confidence is a big issue. And I think this is something you'll get throughout all walks of your life, all parts of your life. If you don't do the things you say you're going to do, every time you don't do it, you lose trust in yourself, and you lose self-confidence in yourself. So if I say, I'm going to sleep better, and then every night then I don't sleep better, I feel like I've let myself down, I'm lying to myself, and I start becoming somebody that doesn't do what I say to myself. That's how I view myself. And I think that has a real big effect on your confidence with what you're trying to achieve. So I think that's also a good reason to be setting things nice, easy, step by step, so you can build that confidence in yourself. And this is I found this with everything, whether it's to do with accounting, because that's something I really, really sucked at with my business, was like keeping on top of my accounts, all the admin kind of stuff. And I really had to set routines and habits and force myself to do it until it become a habit. And I had more confidence in it, because before that, I wasn't doing what I said I was going to do, and then I would lose confidence. And I didn't believe that I was the type of person that did accounts well. It's just a confidence thing, I think, for a lot of people. And I think training in general has a big effect on confidence. So how do I get excited? The next question, sorry, is how do I get excited about setting goals? So for me, I guess most of my goals are really individual goals, like personal goals, I should say, not individual, they're personal goals to me. And I have a why. I'm not setting goals because people say I should do this. Or, I think if you're just trying to lose weight, or as an example, because people say you should lose weight, or you should lose weight, it's not a good enough why. I mean, yes, maybe you do need to lose weight. But you need to have a good reason why you want to lose that weight. And for some people, that's for looks, and some people it's for health, and some people it's for, it can be for a number of reasons. So I had a lot of clients that didn't really like training. They didn't like training. They didn't like health and fitness. But I would ask them, what did they like? And for some of them, maybe it was fishing. They love fishing, and they were, 50 years old, and they've been told by their physio or their doctor that they should strength train or train, but they don't really like it. They're just doing it because it's good for them. A lot of times, doing things that's good for you isn't a good enough reason for most people. So for me, I would say, okay, what do you like? What do you like to do? Fishing. Okay, do you want to fish longer? Do you want to fish more comfortably? Do you want to be able to carry your equipment to good remote places so you can fish? And the answer was yes. And that become their why. Their why was they would just do the strength training as a means to an end, so they can do the things they love longer and more comfortably and better. Whether it's fishing or whether it's running around after their grandchildren or children or whatever it might be. I think for some people, they love training. I love training. So for me, it's always been an easy thing to do. But still, when I've set these goals of climbing mountains and doing expeditions, which are, days long and very hard, if I didn't have a real strong reason of why I want to do it, if I was just doing it because I thought other people thought it was cool that I did a mountain, it probably wouldn't be enough to get me up there. I love mountains, and I love doing these trips and pushing myself out of that comfort zone, and I always feel amazing afterwards. So all that why, when I'm going up the mountain and I'm struggling, and I do struggle, I'm keeping that in my head, and I'm just driving up, and I'll question, I'll be like, why am I even doing this? This is ridiculous. I'm cold and I'm wet and I'm in pain. And because I can answer that question in those moments, then I can carry on, and I can go through it. So I think you need to have a good why, and it has to be your why. It shouldn't be the general why of it's good for you or whatever else. I mean, it's great that it's good for you, but you need to have a serious talk with yourself and understand why you are trying to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And sometimes you might even realize that the goals you want to achieve are actually not important, and it might help you switch to another goal. Like I've had clients that have had goals of being a certain weight, for example. And once we've broken that down, and I've said, why that weight? Why so specific on that many kilos? And we've broken it down. It's been a ridiculous reason. And they've realized that then, and we've actually realized that what they actually want is they want to look a certain way. I think they saw somebody that was 70 kilos and they looked good. And so they thought that's what 70 kilos looked like. And that's where that goal came from. So once we broke that down, we were able to shift their goals to something more achievable, or not achievable, sorry, more realistic, to help them achieve what they actually want, instead of just letting them go to 70 kilos and then they don't end up achieving what they were actually trying to achieve, and then being disheartened by that, because where'd you go from there? So I think having a strong why is really important, and that's something that's helped me a lot over the years with assessing my life and where I'm going to go next after my career ended with the military. And I was looking at doing some Paralympic stuff for a while, and I actually got onto the GB squad for powerlifting for the Paralympics. And it was just before I moved to Norway, and you know, I wasn't enjoying it that much. And then I had to have a conversation. I was like, why am I even doing this? Why, you know, I'm turning up to training all the time, and I'm going to Loughborough University doing these sessions. And I enjoyed training before, and it just become like it was a bit of a chore. And the competing bit was fun, but the rest of it was a bit meh. So when I had this conversation about why I was even doing it, and why did I even want to go to the Paralympics? Did I want to go to the Paralympics? I think the reason was actually more that everybody else thought it would be cool if I was in the Paralympics. Because my parents and my friends and everyone else would be, oh, it'd be cool if you were in the Paralympics. But truthfully, before I got injured, I'd never dreamt of being an Olympian or even considered it as something I would like to be. It was literally just something I fell into because I was now a disabled person, and I was in decent shape and had the potential to do it. I just fell into that category and almost just slipped onto that train track, whereas really I didn't want to do it at all. And I just got so focused and zoned in on this thing. And then, until I actually sat down and asked myself a few questions, I didn't even realize I didn't even want to be doing it. I had no interest in it. So I don't know, maybe have a conversation with yourself and with your trainer, and try and figure out, you know, why it is you're trying to achieve what you are trying to achieve. So yeah, so that's how I get excited about goals, is that I really zone in on them, and I think I know that for me and they're not for anyone else, and I know that there's things that I love, and achieving them is going to bring me something that's amazing. So that excites me. Okay, the next question was, what gets you through days you can't be bothered, can't be asked? So that's a really good one. I mean, I have a lot of these days, and I think one of the important things, or at least for me, is I really try and focus on habits, having habits. And I'm a big believer in, I don't know the technical term for it, but identity motivation. So I believe that people are motivated by, or can be motivated by, identity. And what that means is, I believe, or I want to be a certain type of person. So when I'm making decisions and choices, I try and make a choice that type of person would be. And an example of this is, you have two people that are trying to quit smoking. And if I offer number one a cigarette, and he says, you know, no thanks, I don't smoke. And then I offer number two a cigarette, and they say, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. So the first person has identified himself as somebody that doesn't smoke anymore. And the second person has identified themselves as somebody that smokes, but they're trying to quit. And I think what you can do is you can decide what type of person you want to be. And then you can try and you're not going to do it overnight. You're not going to nail it. But every choice and decision you make is a vote towards that identity. So if you're trying to be a healthy person, or if you decide you want to be a healthy person, every time you're making choices and decisions, you kind of, what would a healthy person do? And you won't do it all the time. You're going to miss out. But every time you do it, that's a vote towards that identity. And if you can try and get, over 50% of your decisions that are towards a healthy person's choice, then you're more healthy than you're unhealthy, right? And you even build on that. And I think for me, identity, once you hold that identity, you'll protect it, and you'll try and present yourself that way, and you hold on to it. I think I see it in the gym all the time too. Like, I know some guys that it's going to sound stupid, but they have like big arms, for example, and then everybody knows them as a guy with big arms. And I guarantee you that guy will never skip an arm day, because he's holding on to that. He's known to be that guy with big arms, and he's going to look after that. And if you're someone that's known, you know, to be very good at organizing things, for example, like take it away from the gym, very good at organizing things, and people come to you for that, and you like it, and it's like, yeah, I sort things out, and you're going to make sure you are that person a lot easier. So it goes back to, again, having that confidence in yourself and doing the things you say you're going to do, and just building that identity really of who you are, and who you want to be, and just really nail that down. So for me, habits beat like, so that is a motivation, but there's another type of motivation that most people talk about, and that's more like just a feeling, you know, when you feel like you want to do something, or you're motivated to do something. I think I don't rely on that feeling very often. I take advantage of it when I have it, and when I have that motivation, I tend to train maybe more intense or longer. So I take advantage of it. But if I was to only train when I was motivated to train, I wouldn't train half as much as I do. So instead, I'm trying to just base it on habits and decisions of what type of person I want to be is how I manage to train and keep on doing things when I can't be bothered to do them, or I'm feeling like I'm tired, or I don't want to do it. So when I feel like I don't want to do it, I kind of say, okay, you know, what would the type of person that climbs Mount Everest do? What choice would they make today? So I'm kind of quite into that identity. There's tons of different ways, and that's just one way that I do it, and I feel helps and has worked for me. And I think, yeah, habits, making things a habit is a lot stronger than waiting until you're motivated to do stuff and doing things when you're motivated. I mean, you take things like brushing your teeth, for example, right? You don't wake up every morning really pumped and super ready to go brush your teeth. You just do it because you know you need to do it. You know the consequences of not doing it, and you've done it so long that it's just a habit, and it's what you do. It's you get up, you brush your teeth. That's you do that. So I think if you can make training and other things like that, it's going to take you way further than waiting for motivation and waiting for the days that you can be able to do it. So that's that one. And the last question, well, actually there's two more. There was one, what have I taken away from the Royal Welsh? So that's the military unit that I was in with Jack, that I still use today. See, I actually didn't write any notes for this one. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, any questions, just fire them away. I'm almost done, and then we can go over any questions as well. I have to check and scroll up on the chat. But yeah, so from my army days, I think that's probably where I learned systems or put systems into my life, because the army is very regimented, and you work with a lot of different people all the time, a lot of new people coming through, and you're constantly changing teams, or you can be constantly changing teams. So I think having systems in place and making things habits, you know, keeping things in order, allows space for a lot of the unexpected things that can happen. So a lot of unexpected things can happen, and a lot of stressful things can happen in the army. So I think that's why having all these systems in place and being very habitual about things takes away that stress. At least it's focusing, it's giving you space to focus on the tasks you need to focus on when they pop up, when they just come up, like life. I think same with the fitness aspect. So fitness in the military, that's part of that system. For me, at least, I believe fitness in the military is so important, because it's part of that system, it gives you space to focus on things that pop up instead of focusing on being tired when you're going through scenarios and you've got to look after someone medically or whatever. If you've just ran and you're super out of shape, all you can focus on is how tired you are, and if you've got your systems in place and your fitness in place, you can just focus on the job in hand, do that, that's out the way, then you can go back to doing whatever you were doing. So I think, yeah, systems is probably my main one. And then secondly to that, I think having people around you, we don't not having to do everything alone. We really are stronger together. And I always try and interact with people, even if I often train a lot on my own, but I'm always interacting with people, whether it's friends or other people in the gym, and trying to like ask them how the training's going. We talk about training and we just kind of keep each other accountable a little bit. And then now and then we'll get a session together. But I'm always, I'm not just a complete loner. I don't just do everything on my own. I'm talking to my partner, talking to my friends, and again, I talk about goals as well. I quite like saying my goals out loud, because once I've said it, again, as part of that identity thing, I'm the type of person that does what I say I'm going to do. So once I say these goals, I have to work on holding that identity. Then I have to work on keeping my word. I've said I'm going to do this thing. My friends and my family know me as a type of person that do what I say I'm going to do. So now I've got to do it to keep that identity alive. And the last question was, what can others do as a minimum daily? This is going to be, I'll take it just as a general population, something like I think that I believe can help just with, really shift your health and your fitness and your happiness as well. So I'd say like 3 easy wins, not easy to do, but easy as in they don't cost you anything. They're very attainable things to do, to work on, to start with, is sleep. First of all, trying to get 7+ hours. This is a goal, by the way. If you don't hit these every day, it's a goal to work towards. Getting 7+ hours a night of sleep. Also trying to make your bedtime and wake up time roughly the same, so you have a kind of a routine. I think that can be a real big game changer for people if they're not already doing that. And then exercising, even if it's 30+ minutes of just walking every day is good. Like, if you can do that, you're well on your way to being pretty healthy and having a good solid foundation. And then also, I'm just putting that out there because it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and most people can do it. It's very attainable. Other forms of exercise obviously great too, strength training and everything else, but that's, you need gym memberships, which you guys have obviously got, so that's great. And then the third one, I'd say water, drinking 3+ liters of water a day. So those 3 things, they cost you nothing. And if you're drinking tap water, it's really attainable, good goals to work on. And then if I was to add a couple of others, I'd say socialization. So just being social, just for your mental health, and again, talking to people, and yeah, just keeping yourself confident, happy, and looking after your mental space, so you can do these things that you're trying to do. And then I've got also, I'd probably say for most people, maybe not all of you, but generally I'd say, diet, like just getting a general good focus on a balanced diet, getting enough protein in to recover from the training you're doing, and strength training, ideally getting some strength training in, whether that's body weight training or weights, it doesn't really matter, as long as you're working on your strength stuff. I think it's going to really help people in the long run, especially as people start getting older. The strength training is really important to help protect you. from falls and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's pretty it. I think if there's going to be a last one, this isn't a daily thing, but I think it's not talked about a lot. But I think if you've got a doctor, you can get a doctor that can do like a blood test every now and then, just to kind of look at your levels, you know, whether it's once a year, twice a year. I think that can be a really valuable thing to help guide your diet too. If they can point out any deficiencies, it can really help guide you in the right direction in what you want to do. Something I started doing about 2 years ago, and I think it's really helped just to get an idea. Especially, I think I hit 30, and then I started thinking about all this stuff, and I started doing that, and something I'll probably keep on doing. I think it's a really helpful thing. So that's me done on that. Questions? Let me just check the chat and see what we got. Do I think it's important to have specific exercise goals? Yeah, I do. I think it's important to have specific exercise goals. It doesn't necessarily have to be super important that you achieve them all the time. I mean, it's good to have I often put goals in place just to give my program a bit of a direction. So I know when I'm creating my program, my training, it helps give it a little bit of a direction if I'm trying to achieve certain goals. Whereas if I wasn't trying to achieve any exercise goals, if I didn't care about how much I lifted in a certain thing, or how fast I rode, or how far I rode in a certain time, my training could be a little bit just blasé, and I could just float through it. So having little goals, and also I personally set standards for myself. So I have a list of standards that I have 2 lists. I have a list that's my minimum. I have a list of standards that I think I should always pretty much be able to do. So even if my training wasn't focused in those areas, I was just doing general training, and I was to jump on one of those tests, if you like, any given week, I should be able to hit these certain numbers. So like, I don't know, say for example, a 2,000 meter row, right? I should be under 8 minutes on a 2,000 meter row. But these are personal goals that I've set for myself based on my fitness levels, and based on how I know I feel when I'm in these ballparks. So that would be like my base. I should be able to jump on a row today and get 8,000. And what that also does is if I did jump on a row today and I didn't get 8 minutes, sorry, for a 2,000 meter row, then I'd be like, oh, I've slipped a little, and I could add a little bit more rowing into my program over the next weeks, and then retest, and you know, should be back there. And the same with some strength stuff. I have certain things I should be able to bench this amount time. Like I usually working on body weight. I think my bench is like 1.5 times body weight. If I can bench 1.5 times body weight, I'm pretty happy with that as a general. And then my second list is higher standards. So then it's like, okay, if I'm really trying to be a bit of a machine and like really generally fit all over the board, then I'll have my minimum, and then I'll have, so like a bracket, I'll have my minimum, and then I'll have my high standard, and then I'll be trying to work towards that high standard across everything. And again, I'm not super stressed if I don't achieve things, high standards. It's just something for me to work on, rather than just having my minimum and being satisfied with that. Then I can always just have this little push towards the higher standards. And this is like, if I could achieve the high standard on all these exercises, then I'm in pretty good shape. However, most of the time, I'll maybe only be achieving the high standard in a couple of them, depending on what my program is focused on at the time. I often go through cycles of, you know, strength training, bodybuilding, endurance, and so I go through quite a lot of cycles of training, depending on what I've got coming up. So next month I'm climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. So lately a lot of my training has just been endurance stuff, with a little bit of strength training, mainly as maintenance for just maintaining some muscle and strength, really. Most of it has been long endurance style training. So I'm leaning more towards that side of things. So if I was to test my strength, it was probably going to be, I think I'll probably still be able to do my minimums, but I'm not going to be anywhere near my higher standards. But my endurance stuff is going to be up there. So I think it's important to have goals. Yeah, I think that's all I've got on that one. And then if there's any more questions, please fire them away and let me know. Or if you want to, ask me anything afterwards, get in touch either with Jack or with myself, and I can elaborate or expand on some stuff. It was quite quick fire today. We're routed through that pretty quick. But I'm happy to talk about it for longer if anybody wants to.
Guys, you guys got any questions? Whatever, pop in the chat. I'll take yourself off mute just before we finish up.
Can I just say, I really enjoyed the bit about identity motivation. I didn't realise until you said that's something that really resonates with me. I never really thought I was important enough to look after myself and be healthy. And it was only when I saw how other people looked after themselves and looked after their food and their diet that I realised that I deserve that as well. So I very much have to do that to remind myself that I need to be motivated to look after myself. So I put myself in the position of someone else. So what would a healthy person eat? What would a healthy person say? And I also use it in my job. I'm a lawyer, so I often say, what would a good lawyer do? So I hadn't realised until you said it. So I just really wanted to thank you for that, because that gives me a little bit more insight into keeping going and being motivated. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
No, that's great. I'm glad it helped, and I'm glad you're already doing it as well. It was a game changer for me. I actually read it. I read it in a book. I think it was Atomic Habits, the book. I read it in that, and it's same as you. It clicked, and I was like, oh yeah. That is a driving force for me, and no, and it's really helped. So no, I'm glad it helps you too, and I hope it carries on to help.
Any other bits before we close up? No. Right, if there's anything else left in the chat or whatever later on, I'll chuck it over. And then also there's a link as well. I'll share out with everyone as a donation page, Just Giving page, ready for end of Feb, isn't it? Over to Tanzania.
Say again, mate.
Donation page up for end of Feb, isn't it? Tanzania.
Yeah, I'm going out on the 13th of February, and it'll take anywhere between 5 and 7 days to do, because you've got to stop with the altitude. So I think I'm looking at coming back on the 24th. So between the 13th and the 24th, I should hopefully be climbing or summiting the Kilimanjaro. And yeah, I'm raising money for Make-A-Wish UK. And if you don't know already, they're a charity that helps make wishes for sick children that are sick in hospital, and they have these wishes that, you know, some of these kids are terminal, some of them are not, but they have these things that they would love to do or love to see, and then this charity tries to make that happen for them. And of course, the more funds they have, the more people or children they can help. So that's who I'm raising money for. Currently we're at, I think, about £350. I'm trying to raise £1,000 in total, which isn't super important. I mean, any money is more than they had originally. So
yeah, I'll share out the link for that with the guys. But yeah, cheers, mate. Nice one.
all right, cheers, Jack, mate.
Take it easy. I'll pop you off, and then everyone else is going to stay on for some goal setting.
All right, mate.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
Right. Amy's disappeared. So we're going to go on to a bit more now. It's not going to be massive, this part of it. I just want to touch on some other bits that Steve touched on, and then also share my screen with you in a second. And you're going to either do some goal setting now. There's going to be some little bits to go through. but there's also going to be some bits to take away and work on. So I'll share my screen so you can see it and talk you through these bits. I've made some notes from what Steve said, a bit about the identity as well, and some bits you can focus on more of that. Main bit being about your language and who we are trying to become rather than the person we're trying to work towards. So he mentioned something about trying. We're not someone that tries a language which is used from someone who's never going to get there. So we work towards, or I am going to do, I'm going to start doing, not going to try. Try is not part of our language to be used. Right, anyway, I'm going to rattle through this quickly with you, and I'm going to use some bits of homework as well. So this is dead simple to use, and just on a Google Doc for you. So the ultimate transformation, the ultimate reason for setting goals is to entice you to become the person it takes to achieve them. So before we even start on our journey, and again, this ties in with the identity stuff, before we start on the journey of achieving the goals, we need to set off already becoming the person that we want to be. So the first part of achieving goals and working on them is the very first step, is we need to start, or we need to become that person who starts working towards it. Ultimate reason for setting goals is to entice you to become the person it takes to achieve them. So Joe, like you mentioned, that second part of the sentence is huge. So what happens without goals? So us as human beings, we need something. We've always been, since the caveman days, hunters, gatherers, that we go out, we have a goal, we have a direction, we have a compass that we work towards. So whether you think you're a goal setter or not, or even if you think that you're not the person that set goals, I guarantee you've got areas of your life that you've got goals for. It can be able to do with health, fitness, relationship, jobs, financial things, careers. It can be anything. You'll have goals. You might even have goals created by other people that you don't actually not know about, but you're not always aware of. So what happens without them? We don't really know where we're going. We're lost. We're just trying bits of this, that. We fall off things. We come back to other things. We dip our toes. We're the toe dippers, dipping our toes in different waters and just hoping and seeing what it will bring. So the next bit, the where, the feelings, the desires, the want tos, and how does that look? And a lot of that's covered by Steve in the last session. The feelings that we get, the desires we want from it, the want tos, and the how do goals look? And that depends on how you best work, whether it's a big vision board that you put on the side of your wall, it's on your laptop, whatever, whether it's just one or two things written down, or whether it's just one thing in your mind that you want to work towards. Goal setting is done differently for different people on what they work best for. The really cool sentence that I learned from last year around goal setting is this, and if you really struggle with what you want, how to set goals, a really cool question to ask you is, wouldn't it be cool if? Now, you've got part of your brain, the lizard brain, as it's known. So this lizard brain makes you think down here when you're trying to think up here. It might be called other things in books like the chimp, for example, the chimp paradox. It'll be the thing that'll stop you wanting to achieve something and think, yeah, I want to do that. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be trying to do this. What happens if you can't do this because other people are better than you, etc., etc. When you ask this question, it's important to just delete that and don't let the lizard come anywhere near you. So it's just a question. Don't hold any feelings or thoughts to it. Wouldn't it be cool if, and bang, there's your answer. And if you do it quickly and instantly, keep your pen moving, keep your fingers typing, you'll get an answer. Wouldn't it be cool if you have to stop and think about it, you allow the lizard brain to start taking over and it'll start affecting what you put down. No one needs to see these, so go as big as you want and pop as much down as you want for that. So where's the most resistance? I put it as a question. It's not really a question because the resistance comes from us. Again, the lizard brain. So if I asked you, you've got 5 minutes to think of one goal, you'll be thinking, I want to do, I can't do that. Maybe I'll do this. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. The resistance comes from us getting in our own way, which is why it's important to use a question like that, where you can just go into like a free flow state and just start noting down what you want. After you've written things down, you might go back to it and just think, yeah, actually, I don't want that, or maybe that should change. That's fair enough. But if you can just blast out a couple, that's a really, really good exercise and gets you thinking better as well. So it's 2023. We're looking back at last year. This is some of your exercises I want you to do. So a little saying, highlight that. Data, not drama. I'm not interested, and you shouldn't be interested in confusing this and going into depth with it. Just give it set points. What didn't go well? No need to think, did it or didn't it? If you know it didn't go well, pop it down. It doesn't matter. You're not getting attached to this. There's no drama that surrounds it. It's data for you to help you move forward. And once you can start thinking like that, this becomes a lot easier. So no beating yourself up. It's data. It's not drama. What didn't go well? Don't have to do this right now. Just jot down a couple of things that didn't go well. And then the next part of this exercise is what you'd like to improve on. And then all this does is looks at the first question and helps you with your third question. So the third question we have here, what needs to be worked on? Now, if the things you'd like to improve on is the things that didn't go well, then that's a really easy answer for you, because you're just going to move everything from the first question and pop it under here and then work on that. If things didn't go well in this first question and then you answered what you'd like to improve on and it's none of those things, then the things that you'd like to improve on then become the things that need to be worked on. Again, data, not drama. Don't attach any of your feelings or emotions to this. Just write down the first things that you think of. And that's the exercise that I wanted to do. 3 questions. You've got the top bit, wouldn't it be cool if, and then the next bit is this. One thing that I'd really suggest that you start doing is setting a little timer on your phone, a minute, 2 minutes max, and then you know I've got 2 minutes to answer these questions. I need to go bang, 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 and blast them out. If you don't put a timer to this, you'll sit there, you'll get distracted, and you'll start thinking too much of it, and then next thing you know, we're on YouTube watching people fall over and stuff like that. So set a little timer and just blast them out. A minute's enough, because when you start thinking like that and you know you've got a minute, you'll zone in and you'll get it blasted out. So first exercise, wouldn't it be cool if? Next exercise, the data not drama bit. And then we've got this next bit, which again, this next bit ties in with what Steve has just been going on about. So daily movement, the things that we can do daily and moving the needle. So someone asked on the call about how often we should adjust things or move things or step things up. And the answer to that is when we're ready. If you want to set it in weekly blocks, do it over the year and work in quarters and have like 12-week periods, 90 days. Or if not, do it till you're happy and you know that it's become a habit, it's become consistent, it's getting you results, and then move on to the next bit. What'll happen is things will start happening like the shiny object syndrome. And what we're going to go through this on a nutrition workshop tomorrow as well. What'll happen is you'll start the year like a lot of people will, and we put this in the groups. Do 3 things and just do them really, really well, and don't move on until you've done them. Don't start off with 10 things that you've heard other people are doing and you think, I'll try that, and then become a toe dipper again. So we've got the shiny objects. I might give you 3 things. Water, let's use what Steve used. Water, sleep, movement, exercise. And then all of a sudden, you hear someone clasping, so we'll try a bit of that as well. And then next thing, someone's doing, I only eat, I don't know, broccoli soup or something like that. So we try that. Someone started running, let's try that. All of a sudden, we've got the 3 things, which are the foundations and the absolute basics that we tried to set. And then we've branched off into loads of different things. And now we're trying to manage doing 10 different things alongside home life, work life, stresses of life. And then what happens? Everything collapses. And then we start again. The big message I want to try and get across is just building positive momentum. And how that looks is by doing just one thing each day either building it up or doing the same thing every day. And there's a really good message that was out the other day. I think it was Goggins, so David Goggins had put out, how would your life look if you did the same, exactly the same thing every day for 365 days? And your life would look completely different. However, if we did one thing one day and then added 2 or 3 things in the next day, and then the next day, we'd probably have over 365 days spells where we're absolutely smashing it for 20 days doing nothing, on, off, on, off. So the big message here, moving the needle one day at a time, daily movement and not the shiny object syndrome. Build positive momentum. You all know how it feels when you do something really well. Like you've got a workout in today, for example, you feel good, you build some momentum, which will take you into tomorrow. As soon as you miss it, or you have a day where you're not feeling good, momentum slows down, and it's just about doing something. Something's better than nothing. Doing something each day to move you forward and move the needle. Right, just double check. So next exercise I want you to do, 90 days, first 3 months, 12 weeks of the year. Something for your health you want to work on, something for your fitness you want to work on, something for yourself. Next question, 30 days, and this is on the goal tracking sheet. 30 days, what do you want to have achieved? Where would you like to be at? What would you like to have done? How are things looking in 30 days? Daily things we can do. And I'm going to simplify this. When we ran the 14-day challenge and give you choice of what you want to do, a lot of people struggled and failed because they went too big. One thing, what one thing can you get done daily, no matter what? I'm talking the worst thing in the world's happening, work's fall apart or whatever like that, work's gone absolutely mental. What do we know we can still get done no matter what? And that's what goes in there. There shouldn't be more than 3 things in there. 1, 2, or 3 things. 3 things. So there's the next exercise. Again, set a little timer on these, and when you've got a timer, you'll get it done quicker. Next bit, question. Hitting your goal achieves what? Now, a lot of this is set up, the answers that Steve gave, and what we're doing on this. Hitting your goals achieves what? So what? How does it leave you feeling? Is it something you actually want to achieve? Do you need to change it to make sure it's in line with where you're going? And then the next question, let's add some more pressure, if you like, or some more reasoning to this. So come on, what does it affect or change? Who does it affect? Who benefits from this? What do you get from it? What are the results? And I don't mean like a weight loss or anything like that. What are the big results and the benefits of you doing all of these and hitting these results? If you can start attaching these to your goals, then it becomes much, much bigger. So I've got a couple of bits for you there that I wanted to do. And the last question as well is, are you clear? And I don't mean by that, do you understand what's going on? Do you believe in yourself? Do you think you can get there? If the answer is no, go back to this question, get rid of the lizard and answer that question and jot down loads and loads and loads in a minute. If you've got any questions or anything, just ask, take yourself off mute, whatever. If you're not sure on this answer, then set some standards, like Steve said, and just have like a baseline where you can operate from, and then start working from there, and then attach different bits to it. A note that I've made as well for this. So I was speaking to someone the other day about goal setting, and they were saying like how important is goal setting. It is important, and I want to make this point clear. You don't necessarily have to know exactly where you want to get to. If you've got a rough idea, if you imagine a compass, for example, you set your compass out, you adjust it, you've got your bearings where you're heading to. If you had a big, massive building or a big reference point to get to, then you wouldn't need an exact bearing to walk on. You could have quite a wide range of where you could head towards, and you'd still get there. So as long as we're headed in the right direction, that's quite a big thing with goal setting. If you're not really clear on what you exactly want, have a rough idea, because once you can head in that direction, we're heading there anyway. So if things change, you're still going to be round about that area of results. So general direction, really. Any questions just before I touch on the last bit? Nope. Okay. I can't believe you all asked Steve questions. You didn't ask me questions. What's going on? Last bit. We start off in January and we go up and up and up and up. We start off really well. We get up to a high peak. And then we're going to get to the point where we fall off track. And it's a slippery slope and it keeps going down and down and down. The further it goes down, the worse we feel, the harder things get to restart, the more we don't want to restart, the more we start having less belief in ourselves. And like Steve said before about the amount of knocks we're taking where we start losing confidence, that's the slope that we're going to end up on at some point. And you need to be aware of that and just accept it. However, the lesson and thing you need to get really good at behavior-wise is catching yourself early and moving on. So everyone does it. If you imagine a mountain peak up over the top, slowly down, the earlier you can catch yourself out to get yourself back up and that, the better. It's going to happen. The big behavior change and the mindset to get around is catching it early. How does catching it early look? Noticing that maybe you've done a couple of days where you're not feeling good. Exercise isn't good. You haven't been making the right food choices. You're in a bit of a slump. Things are getting tougher. How to get out of it? Start again right from that moment. Decide that you're going to do one thing. Otherwise, it looks like sending a message to one of us, posting in the groups and just saying, this is a commitment I'm going to make today, a tiny one, and just making a win really quickly. Really quickly. I've just been out for a 5-minute walk. Message one of us. I'm struggling at a minute. I need to pick myself up. That's how it looks. And it's really important. If you could take one thing from it, it's that catching yourself on the slippery slope. We're all started well in January, but it's how quick and at what point, where's it going to put blue on screen? We can catch ourselves on the downward slope. The quicker we get ourselves back up, the better. The longer we stay on that slope, the harder and harder it becomes. So, quick recap, your exercises. So you've got the question to ask yourself, wouldn't it be cool if we've got the what didn't go so well last year, what do we want to improve on, then what do we actually want to start working on? 90 days, 30 days, daily, and then the little last bit is to start asking yourself, what benefits do I get from this? What benefits do other people get from this? And what is the real reason that I want to do this? I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you took a lot from what Steve said. He played it down a little bit at the start, which he shouldn't have done. He's done a lot more than what he said. He's been out on quite a few adventures. He's got some big plans coming up as well. And obviously with the struggles he's got that he doesn't struggle with and just gets on. It's pretty inspiring. So any questions, whatever, just pop in here. But I'll give like 30 seconds. If there's none, we'll close up. Cool. Right, I'll save this recording as well. So if you ever want it to go back to, if you start doing the exercise and you want to share with someone, send it over to me. If you get stuck on the exercises, send it over to me. Other than that, cheers, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Joe.
I'll see you all soon.